Hi, it's Monique, and welcome to a special edition of Things That Go Gunk in the Night. And tonight I'm presenting to you Murder in Low Country. It's the tale of the Murdaugh family murders and what we know as of September 16th, 2021. News of the deaths of Paul Murdaugh, 22, and Maggie Murdaugh, 52, has led to national headlines, not only for the mystery surrounding their murders, but for the ties to other death investigations in the area, namely Stephen Smith in 2015 and Mallory Beach in 2019. Along with these four, a fifth mysterious death has been tied to the formerly prominent Murdaugh family, Gloria Satterfield, the family's housekeeper who died under really weird circumstances after a fall in February of 2018. So first, let's review the family members. We have patriarch and prominent South Carolina attorney Alex Murdaugh, who is 53 years old. According to his bio, Murdaugh was known for representing injured people in all areas of personal injury law, including trucking cases, product liability, and wrongful death. He also serves as a part-time prosecutor, did serve, we'll get to that in a minute, as part-time prosecutor for the 14th Judicial Circuit, as did his great-grandfather, his grandfather, and his father. So for 87 consecutive years, 3 generations of Murdaugh family served as solicitor of the 14th Circuit, which is kind of like being a district attorney for us in the Northeast. Okay. Then we have Alex's wife, Margaret Maggie Murdaugh, who on Wednesday, September 15th, would have been her 53rd birthday. And she's kind of gotten lost in all this mayhem. She graduated from the University of South Carolina in 1991, and that's where she met Alex. And as far as I know, I think all she did was raise her kids. Then we have Richard Alexander Buster Murdaugh Jr., 25 years old. He's the eldest son of Maggie and Alex, currently the only member of the Murdaugh family not dead or in jail, although more to come on that in a moment. Apparently he works for his father's law firm, or what was his father's law firm. Then we have Paul Terry Murdaugh, 22. He was a junior at the University of South Carolina, and he is known to be a little bit of a drinker and a partier, and we'll talk more about that soon too. So let's review the murder and mayhem that surrounds this family. And I present to you a timeline in 20 minutes or less. So here we go. July 8th, 2015, Stephen Smith, 19, is found dead on Sandy Run Road in Hampton County. No arrests are made. And we'll come back to this one in a little bit. February 24th, 2019, Mallory Beach, 19, goes missing after a boat crash near Paris Island. A 911 call is placed from the scene of the crash at Archer's Creek.
What bridge is it? Paul, what bridge is this? Paul, what bridge?
911, where's your emergency? Hello? Police, fire, EMS. Hello?
We're in a boat crash on Archer Street.
Whereabouts on Archer Street?
In Archer Street, the only bridge on Archer Street.
Archer Street?
Archer's Creek.
Archer's Creek. Archer's Creek. Is it? Okay. What's going on?
It's by Paris Island.
Right. What's going on?
We're in a boat crash.
You know what kind of a?
A boat crash.
A boat? Did you say a boat crash?
A boat crash.
So police allege the survivors were, quote, grossly intoxicated. The state reported this, but none were given sobriety tests, interestingly enough. According to the others on board the boat at the time, it was a nightmare scenario. And according to WSAV-TV, depositions in the case alleged that Paul Murdaugh was, quote, drunk and belligerent, even acting like he was on drugs. And he refused people's attempts to get him to stop driving the boat. I can't even imagine what that must have been like. He was described as crazy drunk, and his girlfriend, who was not Beach, alleged that he slapped her and spit on her as she sat on a cooler. Sounds like a really nice guy. Paul yelled at everyone, "F you, I'm driving," and proceeded to drunk drive their way home. You can watch video of the stops that the 6 made on their fateful boat ride back home in the link below, including a stop for over a half hour for Paul and his friend to have drinks, while leaving the rest of the crew outside. I'm not sure why that happened. It was kind of weird. I'm sure it'll come out sooner or later. I just really find it weird that they would stop for more drinks. When they were taken in for questioning after the crash, Paul's father, Alex, and his grandfather suddenly showed up, telling officers they were lawyers. They stopped all interviews and prevented the teens from taking any sobriety tests. On March 3rd, 2019, following a week of searches, a boater finally discovers poor Mallory's body in a marsh area near the Broad River boat landing in Beaufort County. The coroner said she received a blow to the head from a crash and then drowned. March 2019, Mallory Beach's family files a wrongful death lawsuit against a county bar, a convenience store, and 2 homeowners, all of whom the suit claimed served Beach and her underage friends alcohol the night of the crash. The lawsuit was later amended to name only Alex Murdaugh Sr., Buster Murdaugh Jr., and Parker's Convenience Store. Buster is caught up in all of this because Paul apparently used his license to purchase the alcohol that night, a practice which lawyers for Beach allege was pretty common, and Buster always let him borrow his license to go and get drinks and such, and alcohol. April 18th, 2019, Paul Murdaugh is indicted on charges of boating under the influence causing death to Mallory Beach and 2 counts of boating under the influence causing great bodily injury. May 6, 2019, Murdaugh pleads not guilty to all charges. Then we jump to 2021. June 4th, court tries mediation in the wrongful death. And when this fails, obviously the case is going to be heading for trial. June 7th, Alec Murdaugh discovers the body of his son Paul and his wife Maggie at their 1,770-acre hunting lodge. 911 call is placed at around 10:07 p.m.
Hampton County 911, where's your emergency?
This is Alec Murdaugh at 4147 Moselle Road. I need the police to ambulance immediately. My wife and child just shot badly.
Okay, you said 4147 Moselle Road in Allison?
Sir?
You said 4147 Moselle Road in Allison?
Yes, sir. 4147 Moselle Road.
Stay on the line with me, okay?
Hurry.
Yes, sir. Stay on the line with me, okay?
Hello?
I'm still here. Stay on the line. I'm still here, okay? Carlton, I have an Alex Murdaugh on the line, caller from 4147 Moselle Road. He's advising that his wife and child was shot. Mr. Murdaugh, go ahead and talk to caller.
The Colleton County Sheriff's Office responds and secures the scene. South Carolina's State Law Enforcement Division, or SLED, is contacted at 10:28 p.m. to assist. I will refer to them as SLED from now on, okay? SLED agents arrive at 11:47. Paul and Maggie are found lying yards apart near the dog kennels in their hunting lodge. Investigators believe the son and mother were murdered with 2 different firearms. Paul suffered wounds to his upper body and head from what appears to be a shotgun, while an assault rifle is thought to have been used to kill Maggie. According to local reports at the time, Murdaugh has been named as a person of interest in the investigation of his wife and son's death. According to FitzNews.com, who, by the way, have a podcast called The Murdaugh Murders, I highly recommend it. It's where I really learned all the information that I'm giving you tonight. Maggie Murdaugh's cell phone was found along a rural South Carolina road just outside the family's hunting lodge the day after the murder. We also don't know who else was at the lodge, as witnessed by this heavily redacted incident report. June 8th, authorities say there's no threat to the public. So that's kind of weird. They were murdered. One would think 2 people with guns might be a threat to the public. So still kind of curious as to what was in that incident report. June 10th, Randolph Murdaugh III, that's Alex's father, dies. He was who Alex was visiting the day that Paul and Maggie were found murdered. So I guess that had been confirmed, and everybody is aware of that, of where he was at that time. So his dad wound up dying like 3 days later of cancer. 3 days later was also, that same date, June 10th, was also the day that a hearing for the wrongful death lawsuit was scheduled. So it's kind of like a weird day for that family, huh? June 11th, a graveside service is held at Hampton Cemetery for both Paul and Maggie Murdaugh. So I went into a really messed up rabbit hole on Reddit, and a Redditor said that it was public knowledge that Alex was having an affair when his wife died. So another Redditor jumped in who seems to have all the tea, and here's what she says, and I'm quoting. My mom has told me a lot, but for now I'll just say that this person apparently was having a relationship with Alex. Alex's wife was divorcing him because of his numerous affairs. She was living permanently at their house at Edisto Beach. She hired a forensic investigator to ensure she got half of everything in the divorce. The speculation is that investigation turned up evidence of the millions of dollars that was missing. And that's something we'll talk about momentarily. She then went to the hunting lodge after that investigation. Also, I read that the hunting lodge acreage was acquired by Alex from a former client who was involved with smuggling drugs into the area using that land. There's an airfield there. The client couldn't pay his legal fees, so he signed that property over to Alex. And again, this is all hearsay, and I'm getting this from Reddit, okay? So don't kill me on this one. In regards to the housekeeper, she was best friends with this particular person's uncle or her uncle's accountant or something like that. The day before she had her accident, she told the accountant that she was afraid of Alex and Paul. June 14th, the Colleton County coroner, say that fast 4 times, the Colleton County coroner says the estimated time of death for Maggie and Paul is somewhere between 9 and 9:30. Kind of curious that they were able to kind of fine tune it that way to just a half hour's worth of time. There's probably some sort of, phone information or something where they were, somebody was sent a text or something that kind of really made that a finite half hour when they were shot. June 17th, Alex Murdaugh's brothers, Randy and John, go live on an interview on ABC, and they plead with the public to come forward with any information. They say they don't know whether the family had enemies, but that Paul Murdaugh had received threats. Apparently after, he got drunk, belligerent, and was responsible for a poor 19-year-old girl's death. I'm sure people were coming after him. June 21st, SLED releases a handful of heavily redacted documents detailing what deputies discovered the night of the murders. And you'll note here that, everything is kind of blocked out, basically saying who else was there, other people that were on the scene. So who knows what that says. And I know that there's been some FOIA requests to get that information unredacted. June 23rd, based on information gathered at the Murdaugh investigation, SLED says it's looking into the 2015 death of Stephen Smith in Hampton County. SLED does not elaborate on what information it obtained. Again, we're coming back to this one. June 25th, members of the Murdaugh family formally announce a $100,000 reward for information that leads to the arrest in the double homicide. On July 7th of this year, attorneys for Connor Cook, a survivor of the boat crash that killed Mallory Beach, files a petition alleging law enforcement tried to shift the blame from Paul Murdaugh to their client. And you can see how something like that would happen, especially with an incredibly influential legal family that basically, rules the roost down there. Cops are probably a little bit afraid of getting, poor little Ginger Paulie into trouble. So yeah, there's another lawsuit going on there. Okay. July 22nd, SLED releases the 911 call placed by Alex Murdaugh the night that Paul and Maggie Murdaugh were killed. So yeah. August 6th, People magazine headlines the homicide of Paul and Maggie Murdaugh. It becomes intriguing international news, and all of us are super aware of it at this point. The South Carolina Attorney General's office drops all charges against Paul Murdaugh in the death of Mallory Beach, due, obviously, to his own death. August 11th, 14th Circuit Solicitor Duffy Stone recuses himself from the investigation into the death of Maggie and Paul Murdaugh. Obviously, way too close ties to the family. August 17th, following another FOIA request, photos of the boat crash that killed Mallory Beach are released. And here's some of those. September 4th, father of Paul and husband to Maggie, Alex Murdaugh, is bizarrely enough shot in the head while changing a tire in Hampton County, according to a family spokesperson. SLED, again, is investigating. He's hospitalized in Savannah and said to be conscious and speaking. His story, as he poses it, is that after the tire went flat, a truck drove by and then circled back before someone inside fired shots at him. This info was revealed by his lawyer, Jim Griffin, who added that he got the information from Murdaugh's older brother, Randy. Keep in mind, by the way, he was driving his deceased wife's Mercedes, and most new Mercedes definitely have no flat tires. So I'm sure they were suspicious of this whole shooting thing that went on. Kind of crazy. September 6th, Alex Murdaugh releases a statement Basically that he's resigning from his law firm and going into rehab after a long battle that has, quote, been exacerbated by these murders. He also alleges a 20-year-long oxycodone addiction. Later that day, the New York Times reports that more than $1 million is missing from his law firm. He's basically being accused of diverting lawyer fees. Some others claim that millions and millions are missing, not just 1 million. Quote from the law firm says, "This is disappointing news for all of us, to say the least, no? Rest assured that our firm will deal with this in a straightforward manner. There is no place in our firm for such behavior." Now, keep in mind, both of his brothers work there and his son, so it's going to be weird to investigate this, I think. 2 days later, on September 8th, the South Carolina Supreme Court suspends Alex Murdaugh's law license, effective immediately. You knew that was going to happen. September 10th, a spokesperson representing Alex Murdaugh claims that Murdaugh's shooting was not self-inflicted, that he sustained a skull fracture, and that the gunman was driving a blue pickup truck. September 13th, SLED announces it has opened an investigation into claims that Alex Murdaugh was misappropriating funds from his former law firm. No shit. September 14th, Curtis Edward Smith, 61, is arrested in connection with the assisted suicide shooting of Alex Murdaugh. Authorities say Murdaugh admits that the scheme was set up so that his surviving son, what's his name, Booster, Benner, Bennett, Buster, whatever the hell it is, could collect $10 million in his life insurance policy. Attorneys representing Alex Murdaugh claim Smith was one of his drug dealers, but I just heard on CNN tonight that he was also a client. September 15th, Smith appears via video conference at the Colleton County Court for a charge of distribution of methamphetamines. Because it was his first offense, he was able to post a $5,000 bond. His next appearance is set for November 8th. Alex Murdaugh, meanwhile, is named the chief defendant in a wrongful death lawsuit, followed by the sons of longtime Murdaugh housekeeper and nanny Gloria Satterfield. SLED announces it's opening a criminal investigation into Satterfield's 2018 death. So let's look at that for a quick minute. Gloria Satterfield was the family's housekeeper for more than 2 decades. Satterfield, 57, died on February 26, 2018, after a, quote, trip and fall accident in the Murdaugh home, according to court documents. In a letter to SLED, the Hampton County coroner believes there are inconsistencies with the manner of her death. However, no autopsy was performed and her body was not handed over to the coroner. So it's a lot of shenanigans going on here. The lawsuit alleges that Murdaugh stated that he was at fault for Satterfield's death, and he planned to, quote, sue himself, and that his insurance company would pay more than $500,000 to the family. But here we are 3 years later, and the family says they haven't received a single dollar from the amount that was promised. Murdaugh's attorney says his client will surrender to authorities the following day in connection to the insurance fraud charges. I'm not sure if it's the insurance fraud charges from trying to shoot himself or from the $500,000 that he owes these people. So I'm sorry I don't have that information for you, but you'll figure it out for yourselves. You're big boys and girls. September 16th. So here we are, Thursday, September 16th. Alex Murdaugh turns himself into authorities at the Hampton County Detention Center. So if you take a note of the picture of him here, shockingly, somebody who was shot in the head has no bandages, no bruising, no nothing. So I'm sure they were suspicious of that story for sure. Murdaugh was charged with insurance fraud, conspiracy to commit insurance fraud, and filing a false police report. He was booked at the Hampton County Detention Center, and a judge later set his bond at, get this, $20,000, and he was released. Murdaugh's lawyers say in court that he's intending to return to his out-of-state drug rehabilitation center. Now let's go back to Stephen Smith for a hot second. On July 8th, 2015, the body of a 19-year-old, Stephen Smith, was found with a fatal head wound on a road in Hampton County in South Carolina, which is part of the jurisdiction that had been run by the Murdaughs until 2006, and where their law firm is based. Smith was gay. His mother said that she suspects his son, according to a 2015 news article, was killed in a hate crime. Quote, by several local Hampton County youths from prestigious families, end quote. State Highway Police files include research into rumors that Alex Murdaugh's son Buster was part of a group that may have killed Smith, and the files suggest investigators were worried that the Murdaughs' prominence in the area was making individuals who may have had relevant information reluctant to talk to them. But they were unable to find solid evidence that Smith was killed in an attack committed by now 25-year-old Buster Murdaugh, or anyone else for that matter, and no arrests have been made in this case as of yet. So now you are completely up to date with what's going on with the Murdaugh murders. What are your thoughts? I think it's kind of crazy, and I've fallen into multiple rabbit holes on multiple social media sites. So my questions for you, and you can put it down in the comments, are: do you think that Alex is responsible for his wife and son's deaths? Do you think that he'll survive this, since he tried to kill himself once, not by his own hand? Do you think Buster had anything to do with Stephen Smith's death? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll update this as soon as more information becomes available. So that's the story as I see it on Thursday, September 16th at 10:33 at night. Thanks for listening to Things That Go Gunk in the Night, brought to you by Radio Gunk at radiogunk.com/forums if you want to talk about this further. Thanks. Have a great night. Thanks for hanging with us tonight. Please join us for any discussion at radiogunk.com in the forum section. Follow us on Instagram or Twitter at Radio Gunk. And don't forget to like this and subscribe to us and hit that little bell so that you know when we're going to have a new show. Thanks.